EeSA. This is for clarification.
Bigs.
Big up Biggs, big up EeSA.
When Ash the round are bigs. No EeSA.
We just had a quick chat beforehand, and it's at the moment it's referring to my conversation with Jordan M last week. We just want to get some clarification on
the English brother that I'm with all the time.
You mean the one that with KKK brother?
No, the one that
KKK
Leo
brother.
called him the White Devil.
White devil.
You know when
the Muslim one with the beard.
Who is Muslim one? Muslim.
yeah. He probably don't even recognize he's Muslim because you chat to him. English brother, I'm always with him.
Very
Tall kind of blend.
The man for sure me get a reason with him. I never know.
Okay, yeah.
Wagwan EeSA,
Yeah,
blessings to you always. I'd like
Yeah.
to give you respect. You don't know from
Always.
Black Man, you don't know. We've always had good conversation,
Good
no
build,
disrespect
yeah.
on both sides. You get me? So you wanted to clarify something that I got wrong last week.
So I'm not even gonna lie, I came to you today. Last week I was brewing. I'll come on the crud one still. I was
Brewing
gonna
is
pull you
screwing.
up.
He was pissed off.
So I was gonna pull you up. So I felt like you misrepresented my views when you were speaking to Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? So in the conversation, just paraphrasing and correct me if I'm wrong, you were saying Sunni EeSA's position is that 6 and 9 is cool. Like, it's okay for you to go out and marry a 6 and 9 according to the report in Bukhari. And EeSA accepts that. And you said that off of the back of a video that we did a couple of weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Me, Shaka, Raven, and you were there. And my point was, I was misrepresenting because the point that I actually made is there is a report in Bukhari present where the Prophet married Aisha at 6 and consummated at 9. Then I also said, but there are other, there's a conflicting, or there are conflicting reports that would suggest that Aisha was actually 18, around that age.
I've seen something about that as well.
Right. So I said in the video, if you go back to it, I'm undecided. That was my whole point. Was she really 6 and 9, or was she older? I'm undecided.
Okay.
But my whole
For the
point
record, EeSA was undecided, and I accept that his position.
Cool. So my whole point was to say, though, as the corpus of character that you know about the man, or that I know and believe about the man, Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would not do anything, and it's, regardless of whether people believe it or not, he will not do anything to violate the sanctity of a human being, let alone a woman or a girl. So if it is, my point is, like I said, I'm undecided, but if it was the case that Aisha was 6 when she was married, right, and consummated at 9, my first point would be to make the declaration that society never made what the Arab would say in car. They never rebuked the Prophet Muhammad for marrying. And the marriage here is more of a word betrothal. And as my brother Ash might confirm, in the Bible we have enough places where people are betrothed. Before they,
Brother Ash is giving a wise nod.
When I say betrothed, I said contracts. Once the woman reaches at the age of suitability, she's automatically either she
called a
opts out.
spurs. It's called a spurs.
It's called a spurs, right?
Expers.
How do you spell that?
Some of them will use the word exposed to say, oh, Mary was exposed to Joseph and had sex. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So we can go into that word.
Right.
So say because Joseph was given to, Mary was given to Joseph to be married, but never married till after.
Right. Okay. So after.
So which way you're saying we can confirm that, which is true.
So it was more of a betrothal, a contract.
Hold on, we don't cut you.
Go, sorry.
We have to look into things as tradition. Where a lot of people, that is why you notice me, I don't really say certain things about certain things because in society, in Africa, you have people marrying at the age of 7 and living with their husband. In Africa, these we call pedophilia. But if you look at the custom of history, where Muhammad might marry to Aisha at 6 years old, she go and live with him at 9. This is what it says. Does he break the law? No, it's their custom.
Okay,
at
I
that
understand
time.
that. Listen,
so
right, listen, I understand that, and I accept what you're saying. How you doing, Susan? How you doing? You alright? Yeah, good. what else? I actually totally forgot what I was going to say then.
So you hear what I'm saying about the 6 and 9, but you still haven't.
Yeah. All right. Well, the only thing that I'm going to bring to you, is that when you say that you're undecided of whether she was 6 or 9 or 18 years old.
As in, I haven't determined the authenticity or the strength of authenticity in the conflicting reports.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying I'm undecided. But
can I give some notes to read?
Wait, 1 second.
So but as a backdrop, we can do away with the authenticity. Yeah, we can do away with it. I'm saying if she was 6 and 9, right? Firstly, the community, the world at large, never rebuked it.
Okay.
Right? That's one standard. Yeah. Number 2, there was a waiting in the age from 6 to 9. Yeah, before consummation. There must have been a purpose and a reason for that. It doesn't serve. It doesn't serve the rational mind.
It's not noted though. We can only suppose.
Yeah, it's not noted. We
Yeah,
can only surmise. But
what we can go for is an authentic hadith, and it's whether you accept the authentic hadith or not. I'm not trying to put you in a corner and say accept it. You have to accept it. I'm not even trying to come at you aggressively like that.
No, that's fine.
But I find that there's some Muslims that say if you don't accept that hadith, as in Bukhari, I think it's in Bukhari, you're not a Muslim. And then some people like you would say, I don't know, I'm confused. Does that put your faith in Islam to some other brothers in jeopardy? Would some people look at you and say, because you say that,
does that say what?
That you're not sure about whether, because I saw,
definitely,
because I saw in the comments, just in the comments, I saw, because some people got a more, I don't want to use a buzzword, a radical more way of thinking.
Some people just accept the report after the fact that it's Bukhari.
He had it when it's 6, 9, you accept it, and if you don't accept it, then you're
you've left off the fold,
you're left off the fold.
You're astray or you're misguided.
Yeah.
I think that sort of zeal is misplaced. Like it's perfectly valid for someone to have doubts, for someone to question, because we have to think about it in the context of this culture. That's not something that's on, and I wouldn't advocate it. That's the thing that people often. It kind of in my head. It kind of makes me. No. It kind of makes me think. Why do people have such a big thing? No one here. I've not heard anyone here advocate for anyone to go marry a 6-year-old. Or even a 9-year-old, or even a 12-year-old, or even a 50. We just don't do it.
Because when you say things like that, that Mohammed was a perfect human being, you can see someone as a layman would come into it. I've learned a little bit more now, but you would see as someone who come into
people
a
are going to
layman
disagree.
Would say, "Raw, that's a direct contradiction." If you say that's a perfect human being,
Some people are going to.
But no, but I don't believe.
Just a normal person.
No, I don't believe it is, because no one.
You come into the conversation.
What bother me still is inconsistency.
What's your name as well, brother? If you don't Abdullah. Abdullah.
What bother me with those people, if you start people here like in Britain, in the West, white, anyone here in the West, if they study the age of consent law in the Western region, America and Europe, those people, when they mention about the age of Aisha, they tend to left out the timeline. They don't say 7th century. And I have to remind them, say 7th century when you speak. You know, put it back, make you remind it, because 2 centuries ago in the same country, 10-year-old and 11-year-old, it's a consensus by the Jews that it's legal for having sexual intercourse with.
But wouldn't you condemn in 2019? Wouldn't you condemn all of those things?
But we're saying what you're doing is juxtaposing a 2019 standard, on the 7th century, but without some sort of moral criteria to do so. On what moral ground can you stand on? What objective moral ground can you say that is wrong and that is right? We often find that the West likes to impose its cultural standards on the whole of the world. These people are backward. They need democracy. On what moral ground can you say that the 6 and 9-year-old marriage of someone who gave their consent, said she was pleased, is somehow morally wrong?
I believe that if somebody of 9 consents to having sex, no matter if it was 1,000 years ago, my personal thought, somebody consents to having sex sex at 9 years old, yeah, I believe they're still a child.
Yeah,
For me
but let's be
personally,
real, that's based on a subjective belief though.
Subjective, yeah, subjective belief. Believe that person could have been brainwashed. I understand that it happened amongst all societies, so I'm not just going to pick out the Muslim religion and say we wouldn't just say it's just them. But in 2019, we wouldn't dream of saying that that's a normal thing to do in 2019. So when you say,
in 2019
can I
you would
finish?
yeah,
Can I
sorry,
finish?
my bad.
When you finish, when you say that that person is a perfect human being, it sounds like a mad double.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When you start associating it with
Can I start something?
that's the problem. For
That's
people who
something
don't
we keep
understand
on-
as much as you.
We keep on forgetting the 7th
You can look at
century.
it
What
from a
we don't
different
understand is here. You get 7th century. You get just 19th century gone, 20th century just left. And we here now at the 21st century. What make we just keep past those 2 centuries and give what the 7th century event more year time?
Oh, that's the time.
Because we
That's
mistreat
the time when it happens.
That's the time when it
No,
happens.
what-
That's
no,
what
no,
I'm
But he's saying
referring
it's
to.
been
No, no,
happening.
it
It's
missed
been
the
happening
part there
up until
again.
2
I
centuries.
know, but it's your prophet though, and you're
that's
saying that
true.
it's
No, that's
perfect.
Where's, right,
Yes.
so I've never made, those words have never come out of my mouth perfect. I believe the Prophet is the best example, right?
Okay,
But I'm not going to use, but that in it, I'm not going to say the Prophet's marriage to Aisha was somehow a downfall. There's nothing you can tell me to say that's a shortcoming of the Prophet. There's no moral ground. There's no moral ground you can employ to tell me there's something wrong.
Can I ask you a question?
If you can, I would like to hear
Right,
it.
can I ask you a question? And it's quite personal, but I don't
That's
know
fine.
anything about you personally.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? How long have you been a Muslim?
15 years.
15 years, a long time. Did you know about this information before you took your Shahada?
No, I didn't.
So
Did it
then
make
now
a
you're-
difference? Did it
Wait,
make-
can I
yeah.
explain something to you? Can I explain something to you? You didn't know this information, so you've seen all the good sides of Islam, which there's a lot of good sides. You've seen all the good sides of Islam. You've taken your Shahada, and then after you've taken your Shahada, you found out something that you have to defend now because you're already
I don't have to
in
defend it.
it. You don't have to defend it.
I'm
You
not
have-
in need of defending
right,
it,
But you
yeah.
have to either rebuke your religion or
I think it sounds like you are still in it to an extent. I think it's cognitive dissonance in the sense
You
that
might say that.
because the things that you're saying is like when you say the best, you know that certain things. It's like you almost
I
sound
say
like
the
you know
question, that,
certain
wasn't
things was wrong.
No, I say the
But-
best because I don't believe human beings, by their very nature, can ever be perfect. That's why I say the best, right? Because on the perfection of a human level, yeah, because human beings forget, they sin, they get angry. I'm saying, but as on a human standard of character, he is the best to look at.
So you're saying that there's nobody who acts
I'm
their
saying-
behaviours.
I'm saying
better than Muhammad.
no one's character surpasses that of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon him. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one.
Really?
you kill people.
No one. Yeah, he killed people that deserve to be killed. And I'm saying that Rago on camera.
That's
Who did he kill that?
You
Who
said
did
I was there, he wasn't there.
who did he kill that he wasn't supposed to kill?
Is it just like non-believers? And
Okay, so this is where
Slaves
this is
or
where we
that
have to
kind of
employ
We're going to go into that in a minute.
historical knowledge of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
If my knowledge of the Prophet Muhammad was a 7th century warlord, barbarian, who just stumbled upon people, thought I like their women and their wealth, started cutting off all their heads and stuff, then no, I wouldn't be following this person. But that's not what happened. The man came with a message, right? There was, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, became Muslim, there was no term called jihad.
It was just war.
There was no, he stayed in Mecca for 10 years under the persecution of the polytheist Quraysh and did not allow any of his followers to fight back.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I heard.
Till they pursued him out of they kicked him out of his very home. You're London, bro. Imagine someone kicking you out to somewhere like Hull or something and saying, don't come back.
But then his uncle persuaded him to fight, right?
Going Carlisle or something, they say, don't come back. He's left, you know, and
Alright,
even on
he
his
was
way.
under persecution. We get to the point. He was under
No. We're
persecution.
not gonna one line it. Like we're not gonna one line it because people like to say,
we're not
oh,
gonna
he married.
one-line
He
it.
married. No, because people like to go. No, because we have to be
Couple other
just.
things I hope we don't
They say
one-line
stuff. They say, oh, he was a paedophile. He liked people's women. He married his sons. He took his son's wife.
Nephew's
He
wife.
did
Yeah, I heard
all.
that one the other day.
He did all of this
Yeah,
stuff.
Heard
He
that
did
the other day.
Is that not
No, he didn't.
He didn't take his.
No, he
his
didn't take his son's
nephew's
wife.
wife.
No.
His son's wife.
If you read the Quran, it's quite clear what happened. The brother, his son had a wife, Zayd. Allah says when Zayd finished with his wife. And it had already been revealed to the Prophet Muhammad that Zayd was going to divorce his wife and he would marry him. He didn't tell Zayd to divorce his wife.
sure about that.
The Quran it says the Prophet himself said to Zayd, "Amsik alayka zawjaka wattaqillah." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said to Zayd,
Keep your wife.
fear Allah and keep your wife. That's not the statement of a
I
man.
heard the other side of that. The other side I heard of that the guy was scared. Yeah, the guy was scared that Muhammad was going to kill him. You can just.
Oh, no, was scared.
That's what I
I don't know. This is what I heard. I heard the other side of what he's saying.
Zayd ibn
I heard the
al-Haritha.
other side to what he's saying.
Zayd
I'm
ibn
allowed to say
al-Haritha.
it.
But that's something you have to
I'm allowed to
be.
say the other side.
When it's
Yeah,
when
that's
it's
That's actually the
evidence
first
are-
I've heard from that side.
Oh, you know, inside a person that is scared. I don't know.
All I've
Yeah,
ever
I don't
heard
know.
is
I don't know.
that
I don't know.
Well, we have evidence and
So-
what we like what
It's
people say.
interesting.
That's very
So-
hard.
that's the
when we go to
problem
authentic
because
hadith,
I
he's
agree
saying
with
he
your
doesn't know,
sincerity,
he doesn't
but
know if
you
he's right
got
or
other
if he's
people
wrong.
out there who
With
are
someone
trying to
before
who
someone
are portraying
who
it
married
in your eyes in the incorrect manner. So then how?
But then if someone divorces someone,
That's where it's
woman
hard.
is allowed
because
to- not
I
like
have
you
to
said, to wish
navigate and I have to
karma
present my view. I understand
So,
that if other
yeah,
people
no
have
one
their
need to get down the
narrative
life.
out there, it's very hard to decipher. But that's why I often encourage people to actually go to source material. Go to source material, yeah? And you can generally see who's balanced as a Muslim and who's not.
I don't know, because I
Maybe you
don't
can't.
know, you can't see.
Maybe
I
you
mean,
can't.
you got the different languages, you got the different denominations.
Right.
It's very everyone's professing that their version is the one.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying?
See,
So,
I was convinced about Islam before I read the Quran. But I made a point of not embracing
Very
Islam.
bold statement there.
I made the point of not embracing Islam, yeah, until I read the whole Quran. And I made sure I read the Quran from Fatiha to Nas. As a non-Muslim, right? There was not, and it's purely subjective. There was nothing in that Quran, yeah, except that it convinced me in the fact that there is a creator of this world, right? He set a law in place for people, and you're going to be answerable to him whether you believe it or not, right? And I'd rather be on the right side of him than the wrong side of him. But go
You
on.
sound very passionate. I believe you're a sincere person in that as well, yeah. But don't you see some problem in the fact of, yeah, that before you took your Shahada, you didn't know that the controversy, because it seems to be a trending topic. I'm going to want to come off with this topic soon myself, to be honest with you. I don't want to come here every week and talk about Aisha. Do you understand? But don't you see it as disturbing as I feel it's a really important thing, yeah, that before you took your Shahada, you didn't know about the controversies of I wouldn't even say it's controversies. I would say you didn't know about the ages of Aisha and the thingies. And would you still? You would. I'm assuming you would have still taken your Shahada, knowing what you know now.
Because think about it like this, yeah. If I've embraced Islam, right?
Yeah.
I'm not in Saudi Arabia, so there's no apostasy laws.
that's the difference.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna get my head cut off if I leave. There are
Doesn't
plenty
matter
of.
though, doesn't
There
matter.
are plenty. No, it doesn't matter.
Over here could become.
I'm saying no.
It makes a
Islamic.
difference.
Listen to. I'm saying no, but it's currently not. See, I'm not a person. I'm not. In 2005, when I embraced Islam, I wasn't a public figure. My face wasn't out there. I'm not even a public figure now. But some people might seem. I'm saying no one knew EeSA. So
They know you.
it wasn't like I was Muslim 10 years before I found out. No, as I learned quite quickly, in about 3 months, I was reading the Quran, like in Arabic. I didn't understand it, but I picked up pretty much in about a year or two. I was understanding the Arabic that I was learning, and I learned these hadith. These things were presented to me. If it was going to have any impact here, outside of my Islam, it would have had an impact inside of my Islam, right? So I'm saying,
So you're not wrong and strong right now.
if I believe, that's the thing. I don't believe in being wrong and strong. If there's something that I literally cannot reconcile, then I'll tell man I can't reconcile it. But I have not seen anything.
You not find
I have
anything
not
that you
found
can't reconcile.
nothing.
You don't see it as
Listen, if a man tries to murk my family, believe he's getting murked.
Right, listen.
So death penalty and them things there. And because of, I think maybe as well, because of my attachment to my Ashanti culture as well, where I know how things run outside of the West to a certain standard. Yeah, I'm not bound by this, by these sort of
Western.
these values that man have. Like where a man can go and lay with the next man is cool. It's also what he's always. Yeah, nah. That don't run, bruv. You're gonna get lynched, bruv. Where I'm from.
Yeah.
And that's not me advocating to go out. And,
Lyncher, man.
No, I'm not.
You're gonna say you're
No,
far
let
right,
me
so you're
clarify
not
that.
calling
Let
you
me
far
clarify
right
that as
either.
well. Yeah. Because this is the Western. This is the Western.
Different place.
This is the
Far
Western.
right,
This
EeSA.
is the Western influence. No, I believe. Yeah. And it's this. For me, I believe it's an Islamic standpoint, which is why I've been a staunch defender of Paul Williams previously. I believe the emotion, yeah, or the attraction to the same gender you are, that in and of itself is not a sin. It's the actual action, yeah, that becomes a sin. The fornication part, that's the
We're
bit.
talking about Paul.
No, I'm talking about homosexuality in general. Yeah.
Is that Bilal?
No, I'm talking about. No, I mentioned this because in case someone says, "Oh, this guy's homophobic." No, I'm saying I've been a defender of a self-confessed person who says they have same-sex attraction. I personally don't have a problem with people who have same-sex attraction. The issue becomes when they start putting it in front of you and start trying to force it down your throat and start saying it's natural. It's
There's
not.
punishments for it under your religion.
There's punishments for what?
Homosexuality.
There's punishments for fornication. It's not.
No
There's,
punishments in England for homosexuality.
no, not England. No, there's no punishments for fornication in England either. I'm saying I would get lashed if I slept with a woman, yeah, outside of marriage. Right? The man who fornicates with another man, same thing.
Can I ask you a question? Do you believe, see the people that were giving you Dawa,
Yeah.
and before you came a Muslim, your Muslim brothers, innit? Don't you think that they had, brother, yeah, don't you think that they had more of a duty to show you about everything was going on before you
No,
got your
I don't
shahada?
believe you can teach someone a whole religion, yeah,
But the bad
before
things as
asking
well.
them to. Before, I don't believe there's any bad things,
Balanced
but the
perspective.
thing is, it's
yeah,
not like
balanced perspective.
none of it was hidden. It's not like they said, "Oh, here it is." By the way, in 6 months' time, I'm going to show you all the bad stuff. But
Technically,
once
it is though. If it's not revealed, it's kind of hidden. Isn't it?
No, no,
They're telling you they're telling you half a story. That's what I was going to say. They're telling you half a story.
No, because you
I'm
cannot
still
learn.
understand with the bad
You
stuff.
cannot. No one.
Are they telling you half a story and only
They're
the
not
good half?
telling me half a. Listen, I read the Quran. Yeah. When I read the Quran, it said establish the prayer. I didn't know the prayer was 5 times a day. Yeah, that was revealed to me later. Is it every single? How? Muslims themselves, generally speaking, for years and years, will tell you they don't know everything about the religion. No one can encompass
I understand
everything
that.
about Islam.
But
But
even
what
when
I
you come to somewhere
what I
like-
had is the core. I had the crux, the fundamentals. I had grasp of all of that. Faith in Allah, faith in His books, faith in His messengers, in the angels, in the unseen, the decree, the good of it and the bad of it. I had this.
You have to have faith in Muhammad as well, though. For it all to be possible,
the
it all come through Muhammad. You know what I mean? And that's what we're questioning right now.
That's an article of faith, believing in the messengers.
Christian is a messenger of God?
Yeah, so it's the Muhammad is a messenger of God. Jesus is a messenger of God. Abraham, Moses, Noah. I believe that they are all messengers of God who came with a consistent message, turn away from false idols, worship that one God, right? And that's the way that you're going to be successful in this life and the hereafter.
But you can understand that you were, when you was given Dawa, for them not to emit certain information, whether they did
I
it
wasn't
knowingly
asking.
or I know, but you was assuming that that person had the best interests for you. That person who's giving you Dawa, for you to listen to them.
That person,
Dawa protocol.
by the way, was also a convert. So that person may not have not known that information at that point.
This is what could be a problem though, because you could have thousands and thousands of people taking their shahada.
If it's really that
Who
deep,
are uninformed.
if it's really,
Uninformed
if
people
you're
bringing other uninformed people.
And if you
into
give
it.
half a story,
got
are
a
you
point.
not? If you're giving half a story,
story.
it is half a
Well,
story.
actually,
If
can
you
I-
omit
can I-
some, if you omit some of it,
Can I have some
listen,
of the-
yeah, go on.
can I have some? In Islam, there's protocol, you know, you give Dawa.
yeah.
You have the main story, which is the activator for every other story. Like the Prophet says, you go into the people of the book, which is come from the Christian and Jews. When you go to them, the Prophet lay the condition of the Dawa. He said, make sure the first thing you call them to is the oneness of God. And he says, on the condition, if they accept the oneness of God, then that's when you move on to the prayer. And if they accept the prayer, then that's when you move on to the obligated charity. So then there's this condition there. If someone was calling him and talk about the oneness of God and he says, no, I still want Trinity. I still want three God.
But that's not saying that's not.
Give me an example.
Sorry, go on.
If someone was calling EeSA, the first giving Dawa, the person have to talk about the oneness of God because that's important. That's the biggest thing.
And that was the biggest thing for me.
And if he denied that, the person is not obligated to go along to speak to him no further. You don't have to speak to him no further.
I know.
It's pointless to waste of time.
I totally understand what you're saying, but at the same time, the person is still giving them, like, if he can stick to those rules of Dawa, yeah, and still omit certain things that might have that person thinking in his mind, oh, wait a minute, I don't agree with that, or wait a minute, I don't want to, I'm not so sure about this.
But you're
himself.
assuming, yeah, firstly, that there's been an intentional omission for the purpose of making Islam
if
look
that person
more attractive.
No, even if that person didn't know as well, then you're passing. It's unknowledgeable passing. Yeah, it's unknowledgeable passing on knowledge and to the next unknowledgeable, and it's like a train.
No, if you said, if a man said to me, these guys told me about Islam, yeah, they told me to submit to become Muslim, right, and that it was worshipping one God, yeah, and then when I embraced Islam, they said, actually, you know, in your mind, yeah, like we did tell you it's one God, but actually it's like 5 people, and they all make up one God.
Reality
I'm saying,
I'm
saying because some people have that stuff. They say, oh, this is a one person, but then actually, you see, at that point when I spoke to you, your mind wasn't big enough to comprehend that. So actually, it's all these little 5 little characteristics, and they all make up one person. Then you can say someone's omitted. A man said to me, there's no God worthy of worship but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything,
that?
nothing, yeah, I accept that. There was nothing that came after that negated that.
All right, I understand that. But what I'm saying to you is, if the person said to you, after he'd given you all that beautiful dawah,
if he said
you know what, by the way, brother, there's a little thing, the person who got all this message, he had sex with a girl. I don't even want to make it sound crude or anything. I don't want to disrespect anyone.
He might have done some questionable things.
Yeah, there's what we all know about.
What we accept today is
Yeah. By the way, he done this. Is that cool with you? I think that would have been a better way to convert you than you find out afterwards. Do you know what I'm saying? That's personally, that's what I think personally.
That's a thing. And for me, I don't. There's nothing in my heart that made me feel like I was betrayed and omitted. And bear in mind, I come from a Catholic background, so I'm used to people telling me about prophets that have done mad stuff.
Yeah. So when
for real.
You know, right. You must remember that the day that you found out about
No, I don't.
You don't remember?
I don't.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
I did in business,
Okay.
brother.
I can respect that.
I only learned that as a part of Islamic history.
Yeah.
But that didn't shake my foundation. Oh,
You
my
didn't go,
God.
whoa.
No, I didn't. Because
It
as well,
was to me. It
but
was to
again,
me.
but it's not even that as well. Because I'm telling you, I come from, I'm a Shanti. So I know about people getting married young. I know about betrothals. This thing of the 6 and 9 thing being such a big
Come
thing.
back to my
It's
point
a
now.
Western thing.
Come back to my. That's what I said. Opposite. Come back to my point here.
I condemn anyone.
Come back to my point.
Western, to be honest with you.
Come back to my point. Why
I'm
they
saying about
gonna?
that from a Western standpoint talking.
Yeah.
Come back to my point now. Why they gonna ignore the just early 20th century when 10 and 11-year-old is in the law to have sex here in
I don't
Europe.
think
Shall I
they've
tell you why
known.
they-
In Birmingham, Alabama, it's still legal for a 13-year-old to get married with
Yeah,
parents'
it's
permission.
disgusting,
Yeah,
in
but I
my
think he's
personal
condemning that
opinion.
as well. That's what I'm saying.
My point is that.
Unless they're both 30.
Well,
Which age would you accept now?
I said my point is in irrationalization.
16,
In
Do you know what? No, 16,
Why would they ignore that
16
at
is
that time?
fine, yeah, but the
When the
age of
Protestant is
person-
ruling,
Do you want to be
the
on
Queen,
camera?
Queen Elizabeth
You don't want to
I
be on camera. Okay.
was a
Right,
strong
one
Protestant.
second. Right, 1 second. Give me 1 second.
They were ruling with the Bible in this country. That's when it was a Christian. That's when it was a Protestant Christian country in the 17th century and 18th century. After Queen Elizabeth I, they call Queen Bess. Then you have King James. These are two Protestants, strong Protestant.
She was only a Christian because she only Protestant because of a dad who wanted to divorce his wife.
But within their two,
No, because Mary was a Catholic and she had the same